everyone. Welcome to the third week of Curriculoville. So if you missed our first couple of weeks, we met with Chris Painter, a federal prosecutor and cyber guru, talking about everything and anything with ethics and cybersecurity. Second week was Tiago from Coalition. So we learned a little bit about cybersecurity insurance and where that's going. And today we're here with a panel of Curricula customers to talk about their journey to a better security awareness program. So I have a few of them I'd like to introduce: Amanda from Vimeo, Andrew from Central Electric Power Cooperative, Tony from DRADA, and Eric from Kiwa Kirin. So let's start with Amanda. You want to introduce yourself and tell us what your relationship is with security awareness?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Amanda Vasquez. I am a compliance analyst here at Vimeo. We've been Curricula customers for about 2 years, and I'm really excited to be here today to just share how we leverage Curricula and also how we build a security-minded culture by using a gamification method to share and build awareness.
Awesome. Andrew.
Hey everybody, Andrew Broyhill. I'm with Central Electric Power Cooperative out here in Jefferson City, Missouri. I am a compliance and cybersecurity analyst, and I basically handle all of the compliance work with NERC-CIP compliance, as well as cybersecurity.
Awesome. And Tony.
Hey everyone, I'm Tony. I run the compliance function here at DRADA. I'm a Colorado native, and I've been in the security industry for a little over 5 years now. I've worked in a few different areas of security, but most recently I've been focused on the GRC space for tech companies. Here at DRADA, we've been a Curricula customer for about a year now.
Awesome. And last but not least, Eric.
Hi, my name is Eric Sanchez. I'm the Chief Information Security Officer at Kiwa Kirin North America, a subsidiary of Kiwa Kirin Japan. I've been in security for over 20 years now. This is my fourth time using Curricula, and 2 out of the 4 I have replaced KnowBe4 because this is the company to work with when it comes to training, security training and awareness.
Awesome. Love the shirt too. I got a similar version. So, if you just joined us, this whole, hour we're going to spend together is we invited everyone here to talk about their journey to a better security awareness program. And, even before this, we were talking about how hard that is, right? How hard it is to either make a switch from doing nothing to doing something, or how hard it is to do something to doing something better. And we're going to go through the journeys that each one of you have taken to kind of make that conversation happen inside of your organization and make the commitment to doing something better. So that way everyone listening in can maybe apply some of these concepts if they're trying to do the same. So why don't we start with this? This is kind of one of my favorite questions, is the trigger event. And what I mean by trigger event is, if you follow me on LinkedIn, I posted something about what caused you to implement a security awareness program in your organization. And there was all kinds of results. We had hundreds of responses, but it was primarily by compliance, followed by we just got hacked, so we had a data breach, followed by a vendor told us we had to do it. And there was a really small percentage, like 2 or 3 people that said, I think it's good for security. That's not good, but that's the reality. So, given that there's a trigger event of some sort, what was the reason that you became more involved with security awareness in the organization? Why don't we go with Eric first?
Sure. For me, security training and awareness is foundational to a good security program. A customer, your staff, your users have a tendency to have this ideal of what they think cybersecurity is, and fundamentally they forget about it right after they do some training, and this happens every single time. And working with companies such as Curricula, we've been trying to figure out how to make training fun, but yet let it be sticky to the users, something that they can remember every single time, weeks later, days later, and talk about it regularly.
And Amanda, I know you didn't necessarily have a trigger event, but you guys do a lot of cool stuff that we're going to talk about. So why don't you tell us, was there ever a trigger event, or was it kind of always part of the culture over at Vimeo?
Yeah, so thankfully there was never any trigger event or data breach that led us to creating a security awareness program. But we used to have a parent company called IAC, and basically all of their child companies actually use the Curricula tool. So that's how the tool was recommended to us. And then our friends at the Ask group actually recommended their gamified program, which is how we adopted the idea. And then now, security awareness is a mandate for us to be SOC 2 compliant. So I'm super thankful, for my team that actually put this into place, the program, and allowed it to be top of mind for all of our employees before it was even mandated.
So you're the small 2% there that would say, yes, we care about it. It's part of security.
Yes.
Awesome. And then Andrew, tell us a little bit about what was the long trigger event that got you guys involved with Curricula?
So I was hired a little over 2.5 years ago for Central Electric because we were coming under NERC compliance. And with that came a lot more standards and regulations. We had always done phishing campaigns, but they were more so once a quarter. And when it came to all employee training, that was null. It never happened. So whenever we came under compliance, we were meeting all the requirements, but we were using another platform, KnowBe4. And we knew that something needed to change because we didn't want to have a check the box solution. So we ended up pushing for a little over 2 years to move on to Curricula. And it was about dollars and cents. It wasn't about whether we were secure or not. It was about dollars and cents. But for about 2 years, we kept pushing, and lo and behold, we're a first-year customer this year, and we could not be happier.
Awesome. I know your journey very well, so we will talk more about that journey. And then Tony from DRADA, interesting involvement that you guys have with security awareness. Tell us about your personal trigger.
Yeah. So for us at DRADA, it really, comes back to our mission, right? Our goal is to build a circle of trust across the internet by enabling companies to understand and monitor their security programs through compliance automation, right? So the circle of trust only works if everyone in the circle has enough information to make good security decisions. And, especially as a security compliance automation platform, security awareness training is essential for us both internally and externally. And Curricula has been a differentiator for us because it keeps our employees engaged. And they love talking about DeeDee and all the different scenarios that play out in the trainings.
Awesome. So clearly there is a shift happening here. So there's something to look above and beyond checking the box for compliance. You heard it here, why people are doing that. Let's talk a little more about that. So when you are going above and beyond for checking the box for compliance and trying to build more of a security culture, what has led you there, and what kind of tips, tricks, or advice would you have that you've learned along the way? Why don't we start with Amanda?
Yeah, thank you. So I think definitely making the program competitive, fun, enticing, suspenseful, and we've actually thankfully done that through our gamification program. So we basically have different activities that happen weekly. It could be a security quiz where we test our users' knowledge on different security topics. We have our security newsletter that we release bi-weekly. We have different activities, share a cybersecurity article in Slack and you get 10 points in the games. And then we have our ceremony in the middle of the year and at the end of the year where we give acknowledgement and recognition to everyone that has participated in the program. And then we actually give prizes. So like Vimeo swag, we give drones, iPads, gift cards, all the fun things that everyone wants to win. And that's how we boost engagement and help build a security culture because everyone wants to win. So it's kind of like a win-win for us because our employees are getting that knowledge and they're also getting, Vimeo swag and all the goodies. So that's how we've helped build the security culture at Vimeo.
I have a feeling you'll have a lot of friends messaging you after this, asking you how you did what you did, but it's cool. I mean, we've watched this for a couple of years now, this play out, and it's probably one of the more robust programs we've seen of just kind of aggregating activities together, and it doesn't stop, right? It runs all year long. I've been lucky enough to be involved as one of those points earnings people, and I'll tell you, the wheel of prize at the end had me on the edge of my seat of who was going to win that little DeeDee pack.
Yeah, so that was super fun. That was actually 2 weeks ago. We had Nick come on and talk for us and share security best practices. And just to give you guys some insight, all attendees actually earned 200 points for attending the event. And then at the end of the session, we actually had a raffle. So I shared my screen and I pulled up a random number generator, like a really colorful one. And I just picked a random raffle winner. And then that person actually won the DeeDee swag bag, which consisted of like DeeDee stickers, some DeeDee socks, a mug, a cozy for their beverages. So everyone was super excited and it just made the event super fun. So
yeah, it was cool. All right. And then Andrew, you're doing some fun stuff with onboarding and kind of utilizing DeeDee. Tell us a little more about that.
So yeah, whenever we have new employee orientation about once a quarter, we have a couple of different sessions, but we want everybody to get introduced to DeeDee as soon as possible, and the whole process behind why we're doing this training, why we do phishing campaigns, and just involving everybody in right away. So what we have been doing is in all of our slideshows and presentations, we have DeeDee in every one of them, and we have demonstrations too for employees how like certain things like hacking, for instance, if you want to get privilege escalation on a computer, we show them how to do that and how from the start of clicking on an email to where it would go, how DeeDee could actually do that. And so everybody who is a villain in our environment is actually DeeDee, and we try to bring those attention points to the new employees as well.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of those images and stuff, and it's just one theme I think you could take away from building a culture is, you got to care, right? You got to care about the effort you're putting in if you want to see the results that you expect coming out. A good question, kind of similar topic here is when you are implementing security awareness program, and throw compliance out the window for a second, and let's just talk about the reality of this situation is you want to prevent your company from getting hacked. How do we measure and define success? And I think that's something that I get asked nonstop, right? Every single week, someone's asking me this question. And my answer is always, it's everything that happens outside of Curricula is how we measure success. It's when the IT and security teams' backs are turned, are people going to make the right decisions without being monitored and looked at and, eagle-eyed into making the right decisions? And ultimately, that's what a good security awareness program could and should do. So other than that, I mean, mentality, what else are you doing to define success inside your organization or measure your security awareness program? Why don't we start with Eric?
Yeah, I mean, besides changing the hearts and minds of our staff and users, the way we define this success, actually the way that our executive committee defined the success, is just how much they're talking about it in the halls during our meetings. When they go to the meeting rooms, do they see the posters or the figurines that are related to curriculum, and remember as they're talking about a new project, what would DeeDee do to this, and what can we do to prevent it, right? Let's put that as a risk. Like, what type of things do we need to coordinate with? Because I forgot which other one it was, but is it possible, right, that this happens? So we have that instilled in Curricula North America now, and it's getting really, really good feedback, especially from our executive management, when they get from their business units coming up to them and saying, okay, what is DeeDee going to do? That just takes them a step back, because in the 3-4 years that they've used KnowBe4, not once did any of the business units ever mention what the security risk could be for a certain project. So that's how we're measuring success, is actual communication and identifying directly with the leadership.
That's awesome. It's from last week with Coalition, we talked about this during the insurance discussion about risk assessments and how to have a conversation with your management team about this. And it's breaking down these things into real life scenarios, right? What would DeeDee do? Well, what would happen, right? You talk inside of a narrative format about your business and bring these characters in, and now you get people thinking versus just numbers on a screen or results on a report. Anyone else that want to talk about, how different ways that you measure success or define what a metric of a security awareness program could look like?
Yeah, I'll share. A big one for us is the number of people who fall for phishing simulations or phishing tests, we're always looking for that number to go down over time to see if the reinforcement training and everything that we're sharing with them is helping them learn to identify and, preventing them from clicking on that link.
People are scared of her. Tell you, they look out for her, but it's just funny. Back to that same thing is they talk in conversation about, I don't know who's on the other end of that email. It could be DeeDee or one of her friends. And when we hear stories like this is it, right? I don't care how many numbers you have on a dashboard or how many buttons you have. That's the stuff that we want to instill into employees' heads. Anything else on the measurement feedback or ideas that have come from your orgs?
Yeah, I just wanted to share what we do at Vimeo. So, we use the Curricula training stats and also the phishing campaign stats from Curricula as well to see where users are lacking knowledge or the challenging topics. And then we actually create security quizzes via Google Forms to test our users' knowledge. And then based on the stats that we see with users getting certain questions incorrectly, I'll continuously repeat these topics so that users can get better at this type of information and better absorb this type of content.
Awesome. So, moving on, there's this world, right? This is getting more and more popular as we continue to hear about bad things. We want to do better at teaching employees, but we also have to recognize that there's kind of maturity in security programs in every organization. And the way we just talked about this in an article, if you haven't seen this yet, it's about doing nothing, doing something, and then doing something better. It's typically from who's going to hack me to holy crap, I got to go through SOC 2 and check the box really fast for compliance to becoming one of you, right? And if we follow this path and we're talking about how to successfully kind of implement this and not just check the box for a compliance thing, we have to recognize that we're doing all of this for our employees. So if we don't get buy-in from our employees and we're just making the decisions on our own, we're probably going to get the results that we're all joking about here, that no one's going to care. So with that topic, how did you guys, either go about getting employee buy-in or get employees to become advocates for cybersecurity? Tony, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, so, for us, we start by hiring folks who believe in our mission, again, building that circle of trust. And we also reinforce it by making security a part of everyone's day, whether it's the formal training or phishing simulations or regularly sharing security news, keeping that consistent message and reminding people that this is out there and that everything that they do can impact security, I think really helps, keep people engaged and, keeps them bought into the concept of security and everything that comes with it.
It's good. Hiring on the mission. That's pretty awesome. I don't know who's doing that, but you should be, because it really matters. What else? What else have you guys been doing to get some buy-in?
So I got one. So we have some new employees, but a lot of our employees have been there for 10, 15, 20, 30 years. And so it's hard to get that mindset changed to, wanting to check the box to actually caring about security. So one of the things that we started doing with me and my boss, Justin, is that we got a sandbox environment to, for instance, get emails that people are reporting and showing them, hey, let's show everybody what would have actually have happened if somebody actually clicked on this email. And let's go through it. And that way we have this recording and these step-by-steps so people actually understand the dangers behind it. And when we have a mass, whenever there's a mass email attack that's coming against us, we can say, hey, everybody be, aware of this email. This is what it'll look like. And this is the point in which, if you've clicked on that link, maybe you'll see 3 other pages, but at this point you would have been compromised. Maybe on step 3, you would have been compromised.
Awesome. What else? What else are we doing?
So we did a little bit of a different approach. We actually reached out to all the executive administrators first. They're the eyes and ears of the organization, right? Really, to the executive, to the leadership, to all the directors. So we reached out to them first and got their buy-in. They went through some of the courses, the scenarios, they asked our questions. And then we gauged them on how they felt about learning from an animated style learning situation as opposed to a real life person to person. And it was really good. The feedback was really good. And we said, would your executive appreciate this? And instead of them answering the question, they just said, hey, let's send it directly to them. And that's what they did. And the funniest thing happened, the CEO of the company, he got it, watched it, and he goes, this reminds me of like the 70s cartoons that I watched. I still remember those. This is something I'm going to remember for a very long time. And it was just the funniest thing because no one ever thought that he would ever say something like that. And he did. And ever since then, it's just that top-down approach of, all the executives say, hey, you need to be on board with this because this is really great. People are going to learn stuff from this.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff, that you guys are doing that we've heard over the years and just continue to hear every single day on how people are putting in different things to drive engagement in the platform. What are some of those super unique things that have happened? I've heard everything from people making Slack channels with DeeDee in them to dressing up like DeeDee for Halloween to everything in between. What else is really unique in your org or something creative you've done to help continue to drive that engagement?
So I can go first with that, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So a couple of things that we've done is we have 3 different offices in North America. Each one of the offices, the very first cubicle that you approach after entering the doors actually has a bunch of DeeDee paraphernalia already, all around the different cubicle. Anyway, anything from posters to the, to the koozie and things like that. And there's someone behind there who just happens to be an IT person, and that's the person that has to be the help desk. Happens to be the help desk. So anytime someone wants to talk to the help desk, they gotta, they fidget around, they see all these different things, and then they just start asking questions. And it's really cool to see just the interactions of the questions that you get at the help desk area. And then, working with IT, and coordinating with them, every single conference room that we have, we're planning to create or work with Funko, which is an organization in Washington, to build bobbleheads of DeeDee and the different characters and place them in every single conference room in our office. So that's how we're trying to build that stickiness.
That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I explored some of those things you were talking about. It's pretty cool ideas. What else have you guys done that's gone outside the box a little bit on the thinking side? Amanda, I know you have some ideas to share there.
Yeah, I do. So for our Security Games Award ceremony, we actually use the TO application so that users can join via an avatar. So they create a cool avatar that looks like them. They're able to join without being on camera. And it really just makes the ceremony super fun. So they can still see the presentation, but also it's just a bunch of avatars sitting around a table. And it just gives a different feel, a fun feel to the ceremony and to the program overall. And then we have certain activities like our security word search that we just released for October Security Awareness Month. So users can complete that activity and then submit the screenshot and get points. And then we have our engineers that have the option to fix vulnerabilities in code and also gain points. So with that, they're actually using their skill sets that they use to do their daily, work activities and responsibilities to gain points in the program. So those are just a few ways in which we've made it fun and drive engagement.
The ceremony thing is literally the first time I've ever heard that. I think it's one of the coolest ideas of like quarterly or annual or whatever it is, like a reward ceremony where you just like publicly promote these people for doing awesome in security. It's if you're not doing that, everyone you should figure out a way to get this done, because there's a lot more to the carrot approach of what we're talking about here than just say you're mandated to do it. It's a different feeling, right? It's a totally different feeling. And think of this as, talking to children, right? If we want to make this analogy, the more you yell at a kid, say, don't do that, they're going to do it, right? They're going to go against your wishes and literally do the opposite of what you tell them. So what we're trying to do here is try to educate them to discover on their own on why this is beneficial for them both at home and at work. And ultimately it pays off, right? And you're hearing it right now. what else are we doing on this side of the fence for some exciting, unique opportunities to engage? Andrew, Tony, any other crazy ideas that have come out of your minds over there?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go. So one of the things that we implemented with the kickoff of Curricula with Central Electric is that we implemented a digital health incentive. So some criteria to be met during our phishing campaigns monthly. You don't click, you can report any phishing email, including a campaign email. And as long as you have all of your required training done through Curricula, you are eligible. And if you meet all that criteria, you get put into a spreadsheet that we have inside of Curricula. And I run a PowerShell script that generates a number, selects a random person, and that person wins $25 vanilla Visa gift card. And we've seen a lot of upturn with the number of reported emails that we've gotten through there. We've seen a lot more people actually completing their training, which is awesome. It's a very hard thing to do, but just little incentives like that. Plus, it's an email announcement that I make to the entire cooperative that, hey, this person won because they did these things.
That's awesome. You got to spin that big digital wheel that Amanda has and then record yourself. So it's giving a little more clout to the ceremony there.
I might have to do that actually.
Oh yeah. Tony, what about your side? I mean, you guys are seeing not only from your own program, but probably a lot of other programs that people are struggling to do this too. Any thoughts there?
Yeah. Ours is we've gone a very similar route that Andrew has. We do gift card incentives for those top awareness training finishers. The biggest thing that we do is we actually let the winner pick which gift card they get, so that incentivizes it a little bit better because they get to choose the store or the type of prize that they want. They have more say in the matter.
That's cool. So again, kind of recapping this section is if you want to get the results out of this, you don't just turn on a couple buttons and hope for the best. It takes commitment, it takes effort, it takes thinking outside the box, it takes thinking in the box, it takes all kinds of different ideas that are coming out of these heads, right, and into your employees. And the more you can motivate them to do better, at a certain point, it's part of the community, it becomes part of your culture to do better, not to just say, I'm doing this for compliance. So, all right, we talked about some unique things in the platform and things outside the platform that you can do. What other advice do you guys have for an organization that doesn't have a security awareness program in place, or maybe does have one in place, but they're trying to figure out how to get this thing off the ground and get management to actually invest and take this more seriously like you guys are doing? I know that's a hard question, right? Because it's kind of two parts for the people that do nothing, the people that are switching, but how would you explain that to someone to kind of get to a better world in security awareness? Tony, we'll start with you.
Yeah. So, for us, the best way to get management buy-in is to tie it back into revenue, right? Especially when you're working on deals with larger companies, you have to earn their trust as part of the sales cycle. And you really need some sort of security and compliance program to earn that trust. And it really helps if you can come to the table like, hey, as an example, we've got a $20,000 deal out ready to be signed, but we need like SOC 2 compliance or a security and awareness training program in place in order to close this deal. That makes it very real and tangible for management to be like, yep, we should go after this. Let's do it.
That's pretty good. So, I'll focus on this for a second with you. I mean, since you guys do deal with a lot of compliance, a lot of do nothingers to do some things, right? I mean, it's overwhelming, I think, to drink the ocean when it comes to being secure and compliant and everything in between. When you're going through the motions there, is it something that you guys kind of, I guess, give us your advice on how you bring someone through that journey? Like, hey, I get it, you can't do it all at once, but we're going to slowly make you more secure.
Yeah, I think the best perspective to take there is to iterate, right? You can't boil the ocean. The important thing is to focus on getting those first wins and those first pieces of the program off the ground. Like maybe you don't start with a training that includes like 20 lessons. Maybe you start with a training that includes 4 or 5 that hits some of the big areas, right? And so instead of trying to go from nothing to everything at once, you can take more of that iterative approach and get those easy wins and make sure that it's landing with your employee base and landing with your staff as you kind of work to build it up over time.
Because it's a problem, right? This comes in, right? I got to do SOC 2, or I got to do this, or I got to do that. And then it turns into management just saying, get it done, do it all, do it right now. It's like, you can't. You physically can't. You mentally and emotionally can't. So good advice there. Do it in pieces. Communicate those pieces and communicate the heavy hitters first before you start going and trying to fix everything. Andrew, what about you? So when it comes to your journey of how did you get management to actually take this seriously and make the right investments in the right place for security awareness?
So in the cooperative space in the United States, it's KnowBe4 is one of the biggest platforms that all cooperatives use. And so kind of trying to, swim against the current and going towards a different platform, it goes against everything that everybody else is doing. And one of the things I want to hit on is that, through peer groups and discussions and forums, when we asked about Curricula, the 5-6 people, and then, sooner or later, the next, 50 different people who came up and said that Curricula was a game changer, it was nothing but fuel to the fire for us, for our cause. And one of the things I want to hit on is that, just because management is saying no right now, it might take a year, it might take 2, it might take 3. Don't stop. If you believe in something like Curricula, like what we believed in Curricula to be a game changer, don't give up on it. Just keep bugging them, keep bugging management about it, because sooner or later it will happen. You just got to show the, not only the cost benefits, it might cost a little bit more here and there, but it will change the culture of your environment, and just keep proving that out as much as you possibly can with the tools that you have.
And I think that goes for everyone listening, right? Is that don't give up, but this stuff doesn't happen overnight. And just by implementing any tool, changes don't happen overnight. And I've watched Andrew and his counterpart Justin from afar for years, even longer than he's even talking about. Years. We're talking 5, 6, 7 years of going through this struggle. And on one side, it's why are you going to do something different? Why are you going to swim upstream? Why are you trying to be difficult? Right? And why are you trying to do this? It's embarrassing because you're kind of putting yourself on the line saying, hey, I'm trying to do something different here. So I think we applaud you, probably the entire community applauds you for just standing up for what you believe in. And more importantly, using the community to share that, right? Because we all talk to each other, everyone does. And it's one thing to see a bot or an ad or something talk about it versus like one of your friends, one of your peers, one of your counterparts in the world that's dealing with this and telling them that they're not alone. So thank you, Andrew, for sharing that, because I think you're not uncommon. You're a case study, but I don't think a lot of people want to talk about that.
Yeah. And one thing I do also just want to put in there, with the number of national breaches there are, use those to your advantage as much as possible, because, they're either they don't have a security awareness training platform, or it's not doing enough for them. So there needs to be a change.
And then, so Amanda, you guys weren't forced to do this, right? You were on the forefront of doing this stuff before it was cool to do it for compliance or whatever the reasons are. So, tell us a little bit about when you came on to Vimeo and just kind of getting an understanding of how in depth that was. Is there a backstory to that of like what led everyone to be involved from a management point of view?
Yeah, so, before we were forced to, we were proactive because in the roadmap, we had SOC 2 compliance, as a goal to meet. But I think providing management with examples of why security awareness training is important, and then how similar companies like us have been impacted by a lack of training, I think that says a lot to our management. And also just starting small and obtaining a fun tool like Curricula as a starting point, and then growing from that and being consistent with our content and our strategy. So like with our security newsletter, since we've released that this year, we've noticed that our employees have noticed us, and they now know that the security team exists. A lot of us might be remote, but, we're here and we actually take security very seriously and we care about our employees. So I think being consistent and creating, relatable content that's easy to understand, that has definitely helped us.
That's a good thought, is consistency, right? I think, like you said, showing your face, showing your name, just working remote's hard. And I think it's one thing to just post something and it's an email or whatever, but the consistency when you see this stuff over and over again, this is the goal. This is the point of security awareness, is build enough consistency so a long-term behavior change is made in each and every employee.
That's right. Yep.
Eric, what about you? Anything on the, you've done this 4 times so far. So any advice that you can offer on taking that step and making that courageous jump of saying, I'm here to do something different?
I guess my journey is a little different just because of where my position is. I can force feed people if I need to this stuff. But the truth is, it's the approach with any, I guess you can say doubter, right? Is find out what their soft points are, right? For other business units, it's what's related to their business unit. It's not what they don't. Security is just another business unit to them, right? Or another vertical in their office. So, finance, they care about the money aspect. So absolutely, revenue streams, reducing costs, right? I mean, you can relate to, what is it? The Colonial Pipeline, how they probably didn't really have a good security awareness program, right? They, let's be fair, compromised credentials, right? Lack of turning off, levers, right? And things like that. There's a lot of lessons learned there, but all of this stuff has to do with just educating the right people, but the way they want to be educated, right? And I think that's what's cool about Curriculoos is, the format that you use. Also, even the sounds that you use with the cartoons and the different snippets in the videos, those all are relatable. It's interesting how people at the higher levels, they always connect to one little thing, and once they connect to it, they talk about it all the time, and that's how it happened here at Kieran, right? My CEO just happened to have a strategic web. He went to a site that had a strategic web compromise, and something got downloaded on a system. So he was like going haywire and stuff like that, right? And didn't know what to do. And instead of me coming over and saying, okay, now we have to do our security discussion, right, of what you did wrong here, he said, hey, watch this video. Watch the malware video. You can learn a lot here, right? Actually, I didn't send him the malware video. I actually sent him the cybersecurity video. But
I'll start somewhere.
Yeah, and I sent it to him. And you know what? And that's what happens, right? So it's just knowing the right pressure point to use and when to use it. And all of everyone here, you know your customer, right? You've worked with them a long time. Even if you haven't worked with them a long time, you know what industry they work in, right? Kieran is a pharmaceutical company. So they care about patients, they care about revenue, just like Tony was saying. They care about compliance, which everyone else here is worried about. But most of all, they just want to make sure they're doing the right thing and that they're committed to saving lives, right? So that's how I translate it to people in research and scientists doing the clinical research. It's like, hey, knowing more about cybersecurity and personal, information security will help you save lives in the long run, right? And all of a sudden now they're interested. They don't know how yet, but at least they're interested in knowing more. And then that's how you develop that connection.
Awesome. So finding kind of these trigger points of what relates to someone and then hone on that connection, because this doesn't work unless we trust each other internally, externally, our partners, our vendors, and everything in between. So if your employees don't trust what you're doing for them for security, then you're not going to get the results you're expecting for them to be secure. It's just plain and Jane there. So, that brings me to a good point here. We talk about the content, right? And getting people engaged in those little things, right? And if you haven't seen a Curricular episode, I highly recommend it. We do everything in-house, right? We have a creative team that creates these characters. We create all the animations in-house. We do custom music and sound and all that cool stuff. And there's also a ton of Easter eggs Like I'm in the Curricula coffee shop right now with some of our characters here. There's some gluten-free water for 25 bucks in the background, but there's tons of little Easter eggs that you're gonna find. And we make this content purposefully to be fun and to have those Easter eggs. And it's not meant for just the executive assistant. It's meant for the engineers. It's meant for the CEOs. It's meant for the IT teams. It's meant for the marketing teams, sales, everything in between, because it allows us all to have a common conversation. And a lot of what we've been talking about recently is diversity in that content. And we have all kinds of different stories in all different kinds of places and all different types of cultural backgrounds inside of our episodes and our characters and the villains and the heroes and everything that falls into that. And that plays a big part, right? Because like you said, people pick out one or two things that they really love. So I guess with all that background, what is your favorite Curricula episodes? Why? And share a little bit more about that. Whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, I can jump in on that one. I'd say for me, it's the social engineering episode. I think we can all learn a thing or two from DeeDee's mad skills, and that the scenario is very tangible, and I think it brings security from this like crazy, otherworldly, scary concept, and it kind of brings it back down to earth for everyone because it's going to a concert, right? Who hasn't done that before? So social engineering for me, for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll definitely say that mine was the same, the social engineering episode, just because it's so relatable, and it basically shows all the different social engineering tactics that DeeDee used to get those concert tickets, from sense of urgency to having, Harper's dad click on a phishing email, and then simply, enter his personal data and, within minutes. So that was really funny to see, but also kind of scary because it can even happen to us. So that was one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Social.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with social engineering too. But mine's a little different. So what we actually combined the social engineering course after we did a social engineering webinar with one of my good friends, Rachel Toback, at Social Proof Security. And when she gave her seminar, right afterwards, we were thinking, okay, let's just do the social engineering course because I think that's going to work. And out of the 475 people that we have, 400 of them got 100 on that social engineering course. So it was just an amazing turnaround for us, right? And it was, compared to like, you only get like 200 people doing it, or getting 80% or what have you. It was just a really good turnaround. So that to me has a special place in my heart.
Man, that's 3 for social. Andrew, you got to give me something different here.
Josh.
No.
No, I love social engineering, but my favorite's got to be the incident response. It's so hyperinflated and so simplistic because, an incident response isn't as simple as, turning off a lever, making sure the dodo birds aren't extinct kind of thing, but it makes it seem like, hey, this is actually kind of important. We should update our incident response plan. We should have an incident response plan. And just, it's something that everybody should have. It oversimplifies it, but it brings home the point. And also, you feel bad for all the animals that are loose in water. You feel bad for the penguins that are standing on melted ice. So
awesome. Yeah, that episode and all the ones you mentioned, I mean, these are all based off real things, right? It's just translated in a way that's a little bit more consumable. The zoo one's funny because when the zoo gets hacked, all the chaos starts happening there. Little fun fact is Don, who actually draws our characters here at Curricula, is the main character in that episode. So that's him. Running the zoo as another job, as a volunteer kind of thing. And there's a lot of interconnections between that episode and other episodes. And you'll see just a lot of these Easter eggs that we put in, all to do this, all to have a conversation about it, all to set up these scenarios to say, well, what if this happened in our organization? And I'll never forget, at least a personal experience of mine, is we were out at a company talking about that episode, and the cage opens and the sloth is like, I can't wait to get out here. And we were here with lawyers, and the lawyers were all talking about, well, okay, if there was a breach, at this organization right now, and the media started calling, what happens? Who's allowed to talk to them? Who doesn't? How do they know? And the lawyers started arguing with each other in front of us. And it starts going off in this tangent, like, no, that's Michael's job. No, you know what they got to do? They got to fill out a process and a piece of paper that does this. They got to carry this to here. And we're watching this take place, just laughing, like, you guys are the executive management team here. What do you think all of those hundreds of employees would do in this scenario? And that's what this is all for, to kind of build that narrative, to have that conversation. All right, we're wrapping up here. Last kind of tips is, what's the most absurd phishing email that you have ever seen in your lifetime?
I'll go with this just because it's so recent and it's not so absurd, but I mean, it's a good one. So my partner in crime, Justin, received a text message from Shazam, which is their bank uses it, their local bank uses it as a way to prevent credit card fraud. And it said, hey, the card ending in whatever number was charged X amount of dollars. Is reply yes, no, if it was fraud. And typically after you reply, you'll get a call from Shazam. And they called them asking, hey, this was this charge. Here's all this information about it. And everything seemed really legit. They had the card number. They knew the card owner's name, first and last name. They had all of the information that they needed. But at the very last minute, they heard Justin said that they had said, so we can cancel this card and get you a new one. What's the PIN on your card? And he was like, what? And he's like, yeah, what's the PIN on your card? It's a new security measure that we're doing. And Justin said, I don't remember you guys ever asking for a PIN. I'm going to go ahead and hang up and I'll call you guys back. And what had happened is that somebody in the town had skimmed the card and they found all this card information. And what they were wanting to do was make replica copies of this card. So that way they could actually go into businesses and use the card. And they needed the PIN for that to, not set off any alarms. So it's kind of weird because, number one, he lives in a small town. This is a very local bank. So somebody inside of the town had skimmed the card and was making these calls.
Whoa. All right. Can anyone one up that one?
Yeah, I mean, I probably can't one up, Andrew's example, but I do have a good one that I experienced. It was the Instagram two-factor authentication scam email that I got. And it kind of caught me off guard because I'm an Instagram user, It's an app that I use and I know my friends use often. And basically the email had the 2FA code in it and it said to click the link to verify my account. It kind of got me off guard. But then when I hovered over the link, I was able to see, this bogus website that was listed there. So it kind of just made me feel bad about all the Instagram users that got this email probably and just don't know any better to, how to not fall for a phishing scam. So that's my example.
Yeah, anyone can be got, right? It's just the right time, the right place, and the right message. Anyone can fall for this stuff. What else?
Yeah, I got a pretty wild one. I got a phishing email where they tried to appeal to me personally. They basically admitted in the message that it was a phishing scam, but they needed to hit their number of clicks for the month so that they didn't lose their job or get fired or whatever. So they were basically begging me to click it. Like, you don't have to interact with it or type in your password or anything. Just please click it so I don't get fired.
Quotas like, right, for hackers.
Next level.
Wow, that is nuts. All right, that's pretty unique. I literally have never heard something like that. That's awesome. Eric, any other crazy ones you've seen in your career?
I've seen a lot of crazy ones, but I think the most absurd one is the ones that target like the elderly. There was a Medicaid, Medicare email scam campaign going on, and my parents they're still alive, thankfully, but they actually got the email, and my parents don't know any better, right? So they're like reading it, and they called the number that they were told to call, and they, just like with Andrew, they started giving out all their information, right? And what was interesting, what actually stopped them from just, stopped them on the whole discussion was one of them said something just oddly wrong, right, in the sequence. And I can't remember if it was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something really odd with what they were asking. And my parents were like, we would never give that out. Like, what? We don't even give that out when we're at the hospital. What are you asking about? And all of a sudden they realized it was a scam, so they hung up. But it's just so crazy, just the lengths at which, you know, these criminals are willing to go in order to just get a buck, right? And that's what scares me now.
And these are good, right? These stories, right, are good to share in your companies, like getting employees to share them back and have some type of, you know, conversation around this. I'd say in my career, some interesting ones I've seen. I mean, I've been part of a lot of them and been used as the bait several times as part of them. One of them in particular was real life, when someone was trying to ask one of our employees for gift cards and using a bunch of stuff, and had some emails going. And all they did was literally add the words "best regards" at the bottom of the email. It's like, first of all, you never see me saying that in any email signature. So it right away stuck out to them. Like, does Nick ever say "best regards" to anyone? It's like, it's just not in his vocab to ever put that. So these are good, right? These are when employees can start to recognize behaviors and traits amongst your community and start to make decisions based off them and ask questions. The other fake one, which is pretty funny, is, well, it's real, but fake, is one of our customers was actually demoing our platform and going through the motions, and it was late at night, stuff like that. And they were kind of testing out a couple different phishing scenarios. And one email popped in from LastPass saying someone just logged into their account from Russia. I'm like, holy crap. And they're probably running on low sleep. And they clicked on it, and it was actually their own phishing test that they set up to practice on themselves to see how the tool worked. And they phished themselves in the tool. So like, that's how convincing this stuff could be, and how nuts it can get is if you're running on low sleep, or you're not paying attention, or you're caught off guard at the right time, the hackers can win in that quick moment there. So it's conscious effort to just have this conversation, keep that conversation going, and share these stories with everyone so we can beat the hackers. So we are running up on a few minutes left here. So I wanted to thank everyone, first of all, just for sharing your stories, your journeys, your insights and advice. I am sure you're going to get a lot of messages after this for even more advice, but we can't thank you enough for taking that commitment and that step to, you know, working towards a better security awareness program, and hopefully being able to help to share some today on that same effort. So let's go into a couple questions that we had from the audience here. One of them is about, you know, management switching and buy-in, stuff like that. So leadership buy-in is where they're at right now. How do you get full buy-in, even from those that feel entitled? They support a bunch of people. So it sounds like, you know, how are you getting buy-in from the execs and those decision makers that might not be thinking this is all that important?
I think
take a snap.
Yeah, I'll take a snap at it. I mean, I think I mentioned it a little bit in one of the previous questions, right? It's just connecting with the person on a different level. Find out what their weak point is, or what they feel is important to them, and connect to that, right? It's just like it's just like when you're trying to get a friend to go out on a date, on a blind date with someone that, you know, you're trying to hook, you know, you're trying to set them up with, is you try to find those connecting points, right? So that's the best way that I've seen do it. And when that doesn't work, literally connect to how it helps the business from their business standpoint, right? Again, you know, when we talk about pharmaceuticals, we invest a lot of money into clinical research and stuff like that. If I have someone in clinical research who doesn't want, there's a lot of scientists there who are entitled, don't believe in security at all. And what I do is I say, hey, what type of steps do you do to protect like your people's data, right? You know, I'm pretty sure you have to follow regulations and compliances, you know, with FDA and other things. And then they just start talking about it. And then as soon as they're done, I said, hey, did you know that all of that is considered information security? Like, how can what you're doing be any different than what I'm doing? I'm just focused on it every day. So can you help me out and, you know, hear about what we're doing together to make your life a little easier in the future, right? And then all of a sudden the conversation changed because now there's a relational there.
That's awesome. On that same subject here, and this might be for expanding on that, is I would definitely prefer using Curricula versus KnowBe4, but I have no voting power. I'll have to push for it because I love DeeDee and I think this would be better than our dry security training. So given that situation when you don't have a lot of power, what are some thoughts, ideas around that of how to get some more leverage in that combo?
Yeah, so I think definitely putting out a survey, maybe to get some insight from your end users to see how they feel about your existing program and how ways that you can improve it. And also sharing examples of, like how this type of content could help us reduce risk and vulnerabilities within the organization. I think that's super helpful.
And I think too, it can come down to like, getting additional people on your side. Maybe you're not at the level that you can have that peer-to-peer conversation, but if you can get your manager or your manager's manager on board, and then they can have that conversation, right? Go into the conversation with some battle buddies. Don't try to do it alone.
Andrew, anything else? I know you've talked quite frequently about this, but I mean, you're a living case study of this exact scenario that has pushed pretty hard to get this in there.
Yeah, Curricula, working with Nick and a bunch of the other Curriculoos, we had several different trials that, sometimes maybe lasted a little bit more than 30 days, but getting people to take a look at the episodes, people who were the most critical of KnowBe4, getting them to see what is actually out there, because they would say, I'm tired of this, but, this is all I know. Get them to look at these episodes, get them to see some of the phishing emails, get them to look at just this hand-drawn and awesome content, because it does hit home. I mean, I have managers now coming up to me after, with the incident response episode, being like, I felt so bad for that sloth because he was finally free, but he was too slow to move. And it's that kind of stuff. We never got that with KnowBe4. A lot of the times KnowBe4 with their training, after you clicked on an email, you were hit with training because you failed an email. And we don't want to drive that point. We want to say, hey, it's okay if you click on these emails, because we want to be able to show you what would happen. And we want to train you with, harder stuff. So, if utilize the trials, get in touch with Curricula, because they will work with you. They have awesome customer service. They have great tech support. And not to mention it's Curricula. It's a game changer.
Well, you heard it. You heard it here, folks. We're happy to have all of you here, and we're really thankful to just be able to share your stories today. And I think to sum up all of this, it's listening to these journeys. These were not easy, right? If you think you're just going to turn this on and everything's going to work, it's not, right? It's not what it's there for. But we have to recognize when something isn't working, that not making a change is bad. So if you know that's happening and you feel it and you believe it, then it's your responsibility to help make that change. And if you stay tuned in the next few weeks, there's going to be something really exciting coming from Curricula that will help you even more to make that change, especially if you're switching from KnowBe4 or coming to do nothing to try to find an answer. So stay tuned. Can't share all the details now, but something nice is coming for you to help alleviate that pressure more and more. So that is it for today's Curriculaville. So thank you, panelists Amanda and Eric and Andrew and Tony, for joining us today, sharing your adventure and telling your story about a journey to a better security awareness program. And thank you everyone for dialing in. Till next time, bye.